Mic check here, 1212, episode 13. No gruffs given. I want to start by reading you something. I should have read it last week, but it didn't come to my attention until this previous week. It's called My Promise to My Children. For as long as I live, I will always be your parent first and your friend second. I will stalk you, flip out on you, lecture you, drive you insane, be your worst nightmare, and hunt you down like a bloodhound when I have to, because I love you. When you understand that, I will know you have become a responsible adult. You will never find anyone else in your life who loves, prays, cares, and worries about you more than I do. If you don't mutter under your breath, I hate you at least once in your life, I am not doing my job properly. Episode 13, no gruffs given. I think that's much better suited than a Biden clip. I think that's important. I think that we have to understand what we're living with right now, and our children are the future generation. Our children have had the ability, the luxury, to live through a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. We didn't have that ability, right? So when it happened to us, it was all new. Well, they've seen it. They understand what it's like to be in a bear recession. They're going to remember all these different touch points. And we have to do our job as parents because that's where it starts. Episode 13, no gruffs given, brought to you and us by our friends at spreads.ca. We're going to get into the hockey talk. This series has been a juggernaut from a betting standpoint. I would have said guarantee. Well, I did. I said take the 2-goal spread, which it almost seems boring that I keep going to it, but game 3 is tonight. You're crazy not to go to spreads.ca and take that two-goal margin. Bet winner. Because if you're ever going to bet the farm, you're going to bet it tonight based on, do you think Tampa's going to get swept? I mean, I would say right now, me sitting here, I think that they're going to come back. You win one game tonight, now all of a sudden you're in a 2-1 series. Every series that won so far in the Stanley Cup Finals was at 2-1 at some point. So you're right back in it. All right, and they did it to New York. So again, I say tonight, is it going to be a 2-goal margin bet? Chances are, yeah. Because, the margin of error is so little right now. That 7-0 blowout game 2, that was, I think, and hopefully I'm right, an anomaly. You don't really see that too often in the Stanley Cup Finals. And they were awful. So you go to spreads.ca, you look at the lines. I guarantee you take Tampa to win tonight. I don't know what the odds are. Michael will check that for us and get back to us. But that's my lock, spreads.ca, episode 13. We've got some people to thank. Deer Valley Road paid $50 via Venmo. Thanks for the show, buddy. Just a very simple thanks for the show, buddy. Again, that's at No Gruffs Given, capital N, capital G, No Gruffs Given, Venmo. Any donations? You want to support the show? Do you want to exercise your content vampire clause? Send a donation. We're happy to take them, and we thank you. Just like we're thanking these individuals. Mitchell McKay paid $20 for his dad, Glenn McKay. From his son, Mitch, happy Father's Day, and thank you for keeping me company during my ACL surgery recovery. I say to you, Brother Mitchell, recover wisely. Make sure you're icing. Icing it's your friend. Ice is your friend. Get one of those game readies. You're all set. Roman Grattieri, $50. To all the weak men out there doing nothing right now, keep calling them out, Sean. I appreciate you, Brother Roman. We appreciate you. Jason Hosking, $25. Daily look good, feel good walk last week in 95-degree heat. I could hear the sips of water you were taking and remember thinking I'd pay $25 for a cold drink of water right now. So I love that, Brother Jason. Thank you. We appreciate it. I want to give a mazel tov. Oh, by the way, this is very important. Arizona iced tea. You think we're in a recession, right? If you listen to the Biden administration, we're not in a recession, okay? Everybody's dealing with inflation. It's a global problem. That's like the new talking point. Anytime they get asked about something, they say it's a global problem. Just deflect. They think we, the American people, are so stupid. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, okay? It's a global problem, all right? That being said, Arizona iced tea. Go into your memory bank right now every time you've walked into a convenience store or a gas station over the last 20 years. How much was an Arizona iced tea? You remember seeing 99 cents on the can? Well, guess what the can says now? It says $1.29. I don't know what percentage of an increase that is, but to me, it equals inflation. All right? When Arizona iced tea goes from their benchmark, the hallmark 99-cent fee, to $1.29, you know we're in a bear market recession. A mazel tov to a gentleman who I actually don't know. Gentleman that goes by the name of Ross Whitman. He's from Vancouver, Canada, all right? He was a pilot and a real estate agent. Now, Ross, early on in the pandemic, he said, you know what, I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm going to go and I'm going to get the AstraZeneca vaccine. Well, unfortunately for Ross, he suffered an injury. Now, I say unfortunately, but also in the same breath, fortunately, because there's such a thing in Canada called the Federal Vaccine Injury Support. I guess they've pulled together some money. You don't hear about it from mainstream media, but the Canadian government has given money to the Fed Vaccine Injury Support. And my friend Ross, I don't know him, but I'll refer to him as my brother Ross, friend Ross. A mazel tov. He got money because he got a disease called GBS. I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but it's pretty gnarly. He had facial and below the waist paralyzation, okay? That was from the AstraZeneca vaccine, which, by the way, I believe has been completely pulled off the shelves. So it's just incredible that we hear all these things about how great vaccines are, but we hear nothing about the downside or the problems or the dangers. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more, but I just wanted to give Brother Ross a mazel tov. 239,416 migrants crossed the southwest border in the month of May. It is the highest number ever. It is the highest number ever of illegal border crossings. Now, again, I'm for immigration. I think immigration is a beautiful thing. I think our country should be built on the backbone of immigration. It is for the last 200 years. But when there's that many people coming across illegally and they're getting dispersed across the country and towns are having to use their money that they've budgeted for an influx of people, I don't think that's fair. Not to mention the rape and the sexual abuse that's happening on the border. The cartels are making a fortune, yada, 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 right? It gets boring after a while. The U.S. Open. Michael, who won the U.S. Open? I meant to look that up. A young kid won the U.S. Open. Now, we've been seeing all this controversy surrounding Live Golf, which is a Saudi Arabia-backed new golf tour. I believe it's the Sovereign Wealth Fund from Saudi Arabia. They put the money up. It's an investment. They have every right to do that. And what they did was they poached some of the PGA players. Do you have it?
Yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Matt Fitzpatrick. He's young, yeah?
30 years old.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, 27 years old.
27. Mm-hmm. How do you confuse 27 and 30?
You know, I looked and then, I did. I confused it.
You looked and you saw 27 and you said 30?
I did. I looked right at it.
By the way, Dropbox Dave, it has come to my attention that Dropbox Dave is a seasoned veteran of the LA nightclub scene.
Really?
He was given the baton was passed. Basically, Kevin Connolly, who is a legendary member of the Pussy Posse. I don't know if anyone knows what the Pussy Posse is, but the Pussy Posse is it's an underground group that Connolly and DiCaprio and a bunch of these old school New York actors who now live in LA, they invented the Pussy Posse back in the day. Well, Dave has been handed the baton to the Pussy Posse, and he can get into any nightclub in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, on Sunday night, he went to Nightingale for a guy's birthday. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but the guy's a legendary LA promoter. And Dave left a couple of his buddies, including our friend Scotty, who works for Action Park Media, outside. So Dropbox Dave big-timed Scotty and left him outside Nightingale. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, if you know how to hustle, you can make it. And Dave is he's out here and he's hustling and he's getting it done. And Michael, I don't know if you've been to an LA club, have you?
Yeah.
You have? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But not with Dave.
Not with Dave.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to think about it because maybe there's a difference in the clubs that you guys have been to.
I think there might be.
Okay, so live golf. The media is an incredible thing. It really is an incredible thing. And I think that all of us are seeing what it's worth right now, right? The last 2 years is somewhat of a gift. As much as it's been a curse, and it really hasn't been a curse. I'll come back to it. Two people in the category. There's the people that sat around and moped during the pandemic, took it easy, and there's the people that got a lot of shit done. And a lot of people got a lot of shit done. That being said, what was I even talking about? Why was I talking about that? I don't know. I don't even know. I totally lost my train of thought. It doesn't matter. The pandemic, live golf. I can't find it. Anyways, the media. Got it. The media and what's happened, and we've seen the true colors of what's happening, right? These golf reporters, I think the golf reporters should switch spots with the White House press pool, because the difference between the questions that these golf reporters are asking, the Phil Mickelsons, the who's married to Paulina Gretzky, it'll come to
Dustin
me.
Johnson.
Dustin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily Mickelson. They grilled him, all right? And I'll use one of them. So basically, Mickelson had to do a press conference, I believe, at the U.S. Open. And they said, we want to talk to you, and we want your opinion on the fact that family members from people who lost family members in 9/11 think that you have blood on your hands, that you're taking blood money. Now, I understand what the question is, right? I understand they're trying to pin him against the wall. They're trying to make him look like a bad guy. The only problem is that right now, President Biden is about to go over to Saudi Arabia to meet with, and I love this guy's name, Crown Prince MBS. He's about to go over there and have a meeting to essentially beg for more oil. Now, I don't understand OPEC and all the fine print in this whole oil thing, but I know that Biden's going over to Saudi Arabia. Now, why would he be going over there? Especially because it's so interesting. It's amazing what you can find. Some people have these incredible Twitter accounts where they show people's tweets, old tweets. Biden had a beautiful tweet. Well, he had two. Here's one that he had. Here's my promise to you. If I have the honor of being elected president, I will take care of your family like my own. Now, that is a loaded tweet. I don't know if you saw Tucker Carlson's segment the other day, really exposing what's going on, the backstory behind this Ashley Biden diary. It is disturbing. I sent it to you, Michael.
He's a sicko. I mean,
if it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's her words. It's his daughter. She's writing it. There are a lot of, boy, oh boy, the Biden family's got a lot of skeletons. So when Joe says, here's my promise to you. If I have the honor of being elected president, I will take care of your family like I would my own. That is a loaded tweet if I have ever heard one. But an even better one that he posted way back when he was in a Democratic debate. Okay, it was during the Democratic debates. Do I have it? Come on, Sean, find it. Basically, he said something along the lines of, I think I got it. No, I don't have it. I deleted it. He said something about Khashoggi, okay? So Khashoggi is the journalist that got killed by Saudi Arabia. I'm not laughing. Usually that's I'm laughing out of shock, okay? So Khashoggi was an American citizen who wrote about Saudi Arabia. What the Crown Prince did, per U.S. intelligence, is he got a little pissed off that this guy was writing articles sort of exposing what's really happening in Saudi Arabia. So they sent a couple of mercenaries to Turkey, I believe, maybe the Turkish embassy, and they essentially chopped him. They chopped him up. I'm not trying to laugh. It's like, yeah, they went into the embassy and they killed him, and then they chopped him up and they put him in a bunch of suitcases. So when Biden was running, he said, "I'm going to punish those goddamn Saudis. I'm going to punish them." Well, 2 years later, a little more than 2 years, or right around 2 years, he's packing his bags and he's going to Saudi, okay? He's going to Saudi to beg for oil. So, the mirror, it's not a two-way mirror. It's a one-way mirror. And until the media starts taking the lead on this, like these golf journalists, well, we're never really going to hear the truth unless you listen to unlicensed media or rogue media, such as myself and the others podcasting out there across the country. The other thing he did, which is also interesting, first thing he did when he got into office is he did a deal with the Saudis. He sold them 280 air-to-air missiles for $650 million. So not only did he got right down to business right away, but these gas prices, I have an electric motorcycle, I'll admit, and we have an electric car. Not because I feel like it gives us some status symbol. I like how it feels. I like the torque. I like how it feels to be behind the wheel of an electric vehicle, right? I also like not having to go to the gas station. I really like not having to go to the gas station nowadays, considering how much gas is. And if you're a person out there who drives for a living, right? Who you drive to work, whatever it is that you do to try and make a living, I say to you now, are you going to really consider who you vote for in the future? How important are gas prices to you? Do you believe that what they're really trying to do is transfer to a carbon neutral alternative? Do you actually think that exists? Do you think that we're going to get rid of fossil fuels in its entirety? These billions of dollars that we're spending on it. Do you really think that's going to happen? The Formula One, I've been doing some interesting research on how much emissions the Formula One lets off. It's an astronomical number. I don't even know the Canadian kid's name. I didn't even write it down. The Canadian kid who drives he's a Formula One driver, and he essentially came out and tried to lambaste or embarrass or shame anyone that has any association to the tar sands in Alberta. Again, I don't know enough about oil, okay? The thing I do know is that we need gas. We need gas. And solar, great. I'm into solar. Solar, I think, here's the other thing. I say this and I don't really know the environmental ramifications. I saw a picture the other day of them burying old windmills that they use to produce wind energy. And from what I've been reading, they don't even recycle. They just bury them under the ground, plastics. Do those plastics seep into the earth? I mean, Bill Gates, for example, this is something that blew my mind. I had heard about this a little bit. Bill Gates has officially become the largest farmland owner in America. Bill Gates owns the most farmland out of any private citizen in America. Bill Gates is also fighting a war against poultry and carbon emissions. He is trying to get rid of all cows on earth because they fart and they burp. Swear to God. Talk to Bill. Bill wants every cow taken off the face of the earth. He's also one of the largest investors, private investors, and institutional investors into meat alternatives, aka fake meat. I've never had one of those burgers. What's the brand?
Impossible Meat?
Impossible Meat. Have you ever had one?
I can't do it.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I've seen it in stores. The packaging's cute. I've walked by places. We sell Impossible Meat. I don't know if I could ever do it. I would become a vegan. I just thought it was interesting. All these things are kind of tying itself together. The pieces of the puzzle are starting. I'm fucking getting through this puzzle, right? We see what's happening.
The F1 driver was a German named Sebastian Vettel. And his quote was, "I think what happens in Alberta is a crime because you chop down a lot of trees and you basically destroy the place just to extract oil, and the manner of doing it with the tar sands, oil sands mining, is horrible for nature."
Yeah. I thought he was Canadian. He's German?
He's German. The race this past weekend was in Canada.
Oh, okay. All right. That's what it is. So why would a German driver decide to, at the race in Canada, go after the tar sands? Like, what kind of fucking virtue signaling? And it's like, not only is it virtue signaling, it's the most moronic, idiotic virtue signal I think of all time. He might be the number one. He's a fucking Formula One race car driver.
Yeah, and he had those thoughts about climate change on his shirt.
Yeah.
He had something on his helmet.
Which I'm surprised that his sponsor allowed him to do that. But you're not a hero, kid. What's his name?
Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian, you're not a hero. You just embarrassed yourself in front of the entire world. And not by just being a weakling. Is there anything worse than being a weakling? Oh, by the way, I'm not going to skip over it, but I'm here. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm not incarcerated. I went to New York last week for the kangaroo court, and I'll summarize it by this. Essentially, the trip cost me some air miles and a subway ticket, 2 subway tickets, because for the first time ever, I took the air tram via Long Island Railroad via the New York subway system into New York City, and when I left. It was the most pleasant experience I've ever had. 3 trains, no taxis, no fucking taxi or Uber drivers that use the gas pedal as a brake. I literally, if I drive from JFK to New York City now, I'll get sick in the back seat of a car, okay? These fucking guys that drive for a living, the stress that they put on their body because they don't understand how to brake, it just blows my mind. It's one of those things that keeps me up at night, honestly. So things that keep me up at night, the way that I'm solving those things is to avoid those things. So I went to New York kangaroo court. Here's the summary, all right? The guy got caught lying on the stand twice, okay? Essentially, I was convicted. I was convicted of 4th-degree criminal mischief. It's a misdemeanor. It's like being drunk in public. I guess it would be the equivalent on your record. And I was given time served. So when I heard time served, I'm thinking time served. Like, I didn't do any time. I haven't done any time. Fuck does time served me? And then I'm thinking, well, I was waiting to hear anything else. I was convicted with 0 punishment. So here's what happened. The judge, she heard the case because they didn't allow me to have a jury trial because the justice system is fucking completely rigged and they can just do whatever they want to skew it in their favor. It's like the casino. It's like the house. You're not going to beat the house, right? You put yourself in that situation, you're an idiot for doing that in the first place. But I was young and I was aggressive, and I didn't back down to certain things, i.e., getting hit by a car. I stood my ground, right? But you're screwed. So the judge heard this nonsense, this kangaroo court, from a assistant district attorney who was so bad. At one point, she asked me how much I bench pressed. I had a dream before this trial. I swear to God, and I swear I had a dream where this this useless junior prosecutor asked me how much I bench pressed. And I swear to God, she did. And here's the problem is that I said, I have no idea. I can't remember the last time I bench pressed. I can't. You guys know when the pandemic started, I wasn't even lifting weights. I became a marathon runner. Now I run to survive. Then now finally I've gotten into F45 to get the arms a little toned, and you don't bench press. I haven't bench pressed in God knows how long, so I didn't know. Anyways, the judge is listening to this, sitting there, taxpayer dollars, right? 2 days. 2 days was spent on this. Here's what I think. She knew that it was a complete shit show. She needed to do everything in her power to not allow me to walk out of that courtroom with a not guilty verdict and just completely lambaste the system. To a lot of media, which is also hilarious. There was a guy from Vanity Fair writing about this. There were fucking reporters from every New York Times. The world is falling around us. And the New York Times and Vanity Fair were writing about this. She didn't want to let me walk out there and go, this was a joke. So instead I walked out there and said, this was a joke. It was a kangaroo court, and it cost me some air miles and 2 subway tickets. And that's the truth. Nothing. I got fucking zero. I walked out of there. Went to the airport and flew home, and now I'm here today. So
it was your swan song.
Yeah.
You said you're done and...
Yeah, you're right. I went out with a flame.
Yeah.
I went out with a whimper. A flame or a whimper, depending on whose side you take. I also just found out that, and Elon Musk said this, do you know that if you buy an electric vehicle in the U.S., you get a $7,500 tax credit, but you don't get it with Tesla? I didn't know that. And why would Tesla not get it and all the other companies get it? It's a question that I'm looking for some insight into. I also wanted to ask you, the listeners, if somebody knew somebody, it'll come to me. I just planted the seed. President Joe Biden, I want to come back to Joe. He fell off his bike, all right? The poor guy fell off his bike. I mean, could you think of worse timing? By the way, he's in Delaware again this weekend. Everyone was always on Trump about how many times he golfed. Joe Biden goes to Delaware every weekend. They leave Friday afternoon. Now he has his, it's funny, today he went out for a long walk on the beach with his daughter, Ashley Biden, coincidentally.
Needed the photo op.
Yeah, when was the last time we saw Ashley and Joe together? And today, Monday morning, they're walking along the beach together.
They should be walking with Hunter at his beachside estate.
They should have came out to Malibu and got all the degenerates together for a weekend fucking blowout.
Father's Day week degenerate blowout.
Biden and stolen valor. Now, I was really shocked to see a Dave Portnoy tweet after the bike fall incident because, you know, he and Barstool have done a pretty good job of staying neutral, although Portnoy interviewed President Trump and that was, but whatever. They've stayed neutral. So when I saw Portnoy's tweet, which says the following, I don't care what side of the aisle you are on, you can't have a guy who just consistently falls over in this type of manner as president. He exudes weakness. It's primal. When I saw Dave tweet that, I realized a couple of things. One, he could be affected by that, right? Sponsors, could Walmart just pulled Michael and NHL off the shelves? They just did it now. You would have thought they did it a year and a half ago with everyone else, but no, they waited because Walmart's customer are the customers that the American elites hate, right? They're the people of America. So they just did that. So when Portnoy did that, I said, fuck, wow, this is a sign. It's a symbol. All right. Now, coincidentally, what comes to my attention is this whole Biden stolen valor story, which Barstool also wrote a piece about. Barstool has a bunch of military vets, Zero Blog 30, I believe is the podcast. They were not happy. right? So they went on, wrote a blog, and addressed it. So I got into it a little bit more. I go, what the fuck happened? What did he do now? What could he have possibly done? A couple of weeks ago, he spoke at the Naval Academy graduation, right? I'm not sure if you saw it. There were a couple of times where I think he had to ask the crowd to laugh for him or with him. I'm not sure. But anyways, he gets up there and President Biden claims that to all the naval grads, he said he was appointed to the school by the late Senator J. Caleb Boggs. Okay. The only problem is all the fact checkers went to work. Not the real fact. Well, the fact checkers, I guess the real fact checkers, not the fake fact checkers. Nobody can find any evidence of the story being true. All right. No one can find any evidence whatsoever. They went through Boggs' lists of Academy picks in 1962, which was the year Biden should have been referring to. No trace whatsoever of Joe. Zero. Okay. The other problem is Biden graduated the University of Delaware in 1965 with a graduate degree. Now, the Naval Academy, they don't grant graduate degrees. So that's the second part. So not only we can't find any fucking history whatsoever of it, right? It's not even, you can't execution it. You can't even do it. They don't do it, right? So there's the second part. Biden also told a different, so I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Who writes this? Did he write it or did he go off script? He also told this story, albeit a different version, in 2010. See, Joe's got a well of stories that he goes to, right? The Amtrak story, the tale. He's told that 7 times. Now, the whole Amtrak story is actually chronologically impossible. That's a big, chronologically impossible is a statement that means it's impossible because the years, you're not a time traveler. There's no way that could have happened based on just fucking facts, right? So I'm going, okay, again, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's the president of the United States. He's Joe. How many times have I told you I modeled my veneers after Joe Biden? We all know that. It's no secret. The Amtrak tale 7 times. Again, the Tree of Life tale. Not so much a tale. Well, yeah, it was a tale. It was a big fat lie. He said that he went to the synagogue after the mass shooting. Synagogue said, Joe Biden's never been here. You know, these aren't like hairline fractures, right? These aren't sort of mild exaggerations of the tales. These are just flat out blatant lies. This guy's standing up there to the American people, to our future naval cadets or cadets that have graduated, our future fucking military, telling them bold-faced lies, all right? He also has told a real beauty. This one really got me going, all right? A couple weeks ago, he talked about how he got his first job offer in Boise, Idaho from a company called Boise Cascade. They're a lumber company. Well, Boise Cascade went on the record and said, this is a family-owned business. We've never offered Joe Biden a job, and we're in Idaho. At what point was Joe Biden ever in Idaho? I don't know. He's from Delaware. And if anyone out there can fact check that or has the statistical proof to prove otherwise, tell me. But Joe Biden's never lived in Idaho. So where the fuck did he come up with this story about Boise Cascade lumber? And finally, okay, this is a very clear indication of what we're dealing with right now. And it is troubling. Like, we've got 2 more years of Joe. This bike incident, I mean, it's every weekend. He drops a grenade for us to all eat up. He can't go a few days without it. Jill pulls him out of, anytime that President Biden walks towards people, there's always somebody trying to pull him back. Keep him away from the people, all right? President interviews to date in their presidency, all right? Biden has done 31 interviews to date in his presidency. Trump did 100. Obama did 191. I couldn't believe the difference between Obama and Trump. I mean, Obama did 91 more than Trump. Trump 100, Obama 191. Biden has done 31 interviews in 2 years. 31 interviews in 2 years. What do you think that means? Where do we go from here? Bunch of stuff coming out of Canada. To be fully vaccinated in Canada now, you have to have 3, what do they call them? Injections. There's no like nice way to put. You have to have 3 injections. So they've now just officially changed it. Okay, you can't be considered fully vaccinated unless you've had 3 injections. By the way, little Nash is on a plane right now to Hawaii with his mom and sitter Sarah. They're going on an influencer trip, paid trip. He's going to Hawaii. This kid's a superstar. He's just gonna. It's like White Lotus. I'm thinking like Nash, White Lotus in Hawaii. He's gonna park himself up at the bar. Maybe he's gonna get into a little action. Who knows? The kid's a real piece of work. I was gonna tell us something. What was I gonna tell us about Canada? So the other thing they did, they made amendments to this whole vaccine nonsense. With the exception of truckers. Truckers looking across the Canadian-U.S. border will still need to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, despite the federal government lifting other health measures for travelers Tuesday. Starting June 20th, domestic and outbound international travelers will no longer need to show proof of vaccination before boarding an airplane or train. The vaccine mandate for workers in those federally regulated travel sectors will be removed. So they've tweaked it a little bit. They haven't really done, well, I guess they've tweaked it a little bit, okay? It's slippery, right? It's very slippery what they're doing. It's a slippery slope. Trudeau. Interesting little story came out. Government data pertaining to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's private Can Force One jet, that's like Air Force One, Can Force One. We couldn't have come up with a more interesting name, so we named it Can Force One. Reveals passengers on his February 2020 Europe and Africa tour drank nearly 200 bottles of wine. Okay? I don't know how many people are on the plane, but 200 bottles of wine. That's a let's say there's
It sounds like Dave's table at
they're popping bottles and the sparklers. Dave, you're the best. 200 bottles of wine. The alcohol alone cost taxpayers $1,400 over the course of the journey. In total, Trudeau's flight consumed 95 bottles of wine and 93 bottles of beer. All right, so it was 200 bottles of wine and beer. 93 bottles of beer isn't that bad. 93 bottles of beer on the wall, 93 bottles of beer.
Take one
down, you pass it around. 92 bottles of beer on the wall. During a trip to France for the 75th anniversary of D-Day, Trudeau's cabin drank 43 bottles of wine, 35 cans of beer, while a flight to Japan for G20 saw 57 bottles of wine and 35 cans of beer. All right. It reminds me of the plane, an NHL plane. If you were lucky enough to play for a team that owned their own plane, it'll never get better than that, right? Because not only you can drink whatever you want on a plane. NHL teams that have planes, they don't. Now, it's never come to my attention that anyone has done this, any coaches, although I bet you Andy Murray did it. And a few times I think Andy Murray told the stewardesses that there was no booze, like it was going to be a dry flight. I think that's happened before. It's such a childish fucking prank to pull. Like, if you want to get drunk on the plane, go ahead. I'm going to know whether or not you play like shit the next game, and if it has anything to do with you getting drunk on the plane, well, I'm going to make a decision because I'm the coach. I'm not going to say, no, you can't drink. I'll let you make your decision. It'll tell me what type of man you are. Which brings me, we are going to talk about this Manson kid on Colorado because I want to know how he fell through the cracks. Yeah, the planes it's a beautiful thing because, you get on the plane and you sit down, and if you're a drinker, the stewardess knows what you drink, right? So you sit down on your seat, and if you're a red wine guy like Brendan Shanahan, he drank red wine. Those guys brought their own wine because they wanted better wine, and they left it on the plane. But life is good in the private jet life, especially for Justin Trudeau. The only difference is you, the taxpayer, are paying for Justin's wine and all of his lackeys and everybody that comes along. In the NHL, the team's responsible for it. Canada is about to offer doctor-assisted death to the mentally ill. Now, I did a double take when I read this headline. I thought, because initially I thought, is this, and I don't even know, mentally disabled? I'm thinking, so are the mentally disabled in Canada now, they're allowed to ask to be put to, no. God, how could you even think that? I thought it because I didn't know what to think. No, this is the mentally ill. How many mentally ill people do we all know? I mean, mentally ill can mean having any form of depression, any form of depression. It can be schizophrenia. It can be anything. So now Canada, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there was a clip I should have pulled from that World Economic Forum where they were openly talking about trying to lessen the population and on Earth. Like their goal is to make sure there are fewer people on Earth. And I don't know if that's tied to the fucking carbon emissions. They want the cows dead. So do they want people dead now too? Again, I don't know, but why would Canada, who's passing this? Who had the gall to write this bill and take it before Parliament? And why would we allow the mentally ill to kill themselves? I mean, they're mentally ill. So how would you even know the difference between a mentally ill person that was mentally ill and said, I want to die, versus a mentally ill person who was mentally ill and says they want to die? You can't even explain the difference. What the fuck is going on? People in this world, us, all of us, we should be living life to the fullest. We should be working as hard as we can. We should be working through problems. We should be tapping into any resource that's available via our government, with the exception of ending your own life because you're mentally ill. Who gets to sign off on that? How is mainstream media not talking about this? This seems like a gigantic piece of legislation. Is it going to be passed? I mean, I was disturbed by that, okay? New Jersey Transit canceled 80 trains on Friday. The Locomotive Engineers Union, they just canceled the trains. So Friday, weekend, people trying to get home, Father's Day, they just canceled the trains. It was the perfect time to cancel the trains. They called in masse sick. What better way to you gotta find your pressure points when it comes to negotiations? It's an asshole move, but I think the New Jersey Transit is an asshole move just in itself. Not for a lot of people though that use it to commute. The Terror Watch apprehensions. Finally,
I was going to say that if you fly into Newark, if you're going to take the train in, flying into Newark's nicer.
Yeah, because you just take the path.
Yeah.
Or you still have to take a tram.
Yeah.
And then you just hit one train probably.
Yeah, and
right?
you hit right in Midtown.
Yeah. I fly Delta.
Yeah.
I really like Delta. Delta Comfort Plus. And I guess it's tougher to get those seats, but if you are scheduling something ahead of time, I think Delta Comfort Plus is the way to travel. If you can avoid anything, Southwest, American, although Hillary just flew on JetBlue Mint and she showed me pictures and it looked beautiful. It's JetBlue's first class. It's really first class. But Delta Comfort Plus, I'm a big Delta guy. I love Delta. I have platinum status, I believe, on Delta via my American Express Centurion card. I got hooked up with the Centurion card. It's like the black card, right? But it comes with a bunch of perks. Not because I have a friend that hooked me up with it, but you get all these perks with it, and one being platinum status on Delta, and I love Delta. Okay, Delta, I believe, gives our military a good break. They upgrade them and bump them and do all that sort of thing. Terror Watch apprehensions. Terror Watch apprehensions. Okay, that means individuals that were taken into custody at the border that were on the terror watch list. 2017, there were 2. 2018, there were 6. 2019, goose egg. 2020, 3. 2021, 15. 2022, 50. 2022, there's been 50 individuals who are on the terror watch list apprehended at our borders. That is an astronomical number, considering there were 0 in 2019. That means 50 terrorists have just walked into our country, okay? But we're living, the average person, you can't even fly if you're not double vaccinated. Triple vaccinated now is official, okay? Episode 13, spreads.ca. There's something I'm going to talk about that I wasn't going to talk about, but I want to talk about it because you have to be open, okay? I believe today is a holiday, right?
Yes, it's a bank holiday, but which one is it?
It's called Juneteenth.
Oh, Juneteenth, yeah.
Well, funny you said that, Michael, because which one is it? And I'm glad that you admitted to that.
I didn't even think about it, but it's Juneteenth, yeah.
So I didn't know that either. When I saw Biden on the beach this morning, I was like, what? Why is Joe Biden on a beach with Ashley Biden on a Monday? Shouldn't he be in the White House? And then I realized, because I went to the bank, it's Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth?
So Texas was the last state to stop with, not segregation, but the last to stop slavery.
Okay. Wait, look up.
I'll look it up. Which is June 19th. I'm going to look it up right now.
So Juneteenth. All right. Anyways, while he does that, I saw a video, and it was a teacher in a school, and I'm not sure where, and she was a black teacher. Now,
yeah, it's the last state that emancipated enslaved African Americans. Juneteenth marks the anniversary of the announcement of the General Order No. 3 by the Union Army General Granger on June 19th, 1865. So they moved the bank holiday to the first Monday because it was yesterday.
Okay. June 19th, 1965. Okay, so
1865. If I said 19, I meant 18.
So I believe that this was born out of the George Floyd BLM.
It recently became a national holiday. I'll pull that up.
So I assume that's what happened, right? Anyways, I see this teacher. She's a black teacher. She is standing up in class, and she's getting videotaped, and she's making her students recite the Juneteenth pledge, which is sort of like a pledge the union, but it's specific for this Juneteenth pledge. Now, I listened to it, and here's what I thought was interesting. It's quite obvious that it's a pledge that is directed for the black community, right? Black Americans. I totally get that. I understand that. Here's the problem. And this is where I take I love the idea. I love the idea of our teachers doing these different things with our youth. I love it, though, if this teacher did it in other times over the year with other sort of races and nationalities. So if you're going to educate your students, do it on a level that is widespread, right? Incorporate. There's got to be a pledge of a pledge for the minority, for the Indian community, right? For the Chinese community, for the Aboriginal community. Like, I like the idea of our teachers teaching our kids more, right? But I get a little uncomfortable if I was a parent who had a kid in that class and the teacher is doing this just for one specific set of people, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, So why not? And that bothers me a little bit. And I think that that's okay for me to say that out loud, because all I want our kids to learn more. And I don't want it to be so specific. And that's sort of like when you see, teachers coming out to their class. I don't have a problem with a teacher coming out to their class. I think a relationship between students and their teachers, it should be a lasting one. You should feel important with your teachers. But it feels like it comes from a place that isn't the most authentic, because they're not doing it across the board. If that makes sense. And I just wanted to spill my guts a little bit and be honest. Be honest about a feeling. Episode 13, no gruffs given, the NHL. We're entering into Game 3 this evening. We're going home. I say we as in us, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, and
down 0-2.
It's not over until you lose on home ice.
Till the fat lady sings. Is that true?
Well, no, but if you defend home ice,
you're right.
You're in it.
Yeah, you're right. And if they win tonight, it's a 2-1 series.
Yeah.
Now we know.
And they just did that to the Rangers, right?
Well, that the Rangers, I sat back quietly, and when the fucking New York Rangers social media team, they were implying like the series was over, I thought to myself, be careful. Be careful. Now, I haven't seen anything come out of Colorado's camp, but there's a lot of people sending me messages. They're fucking done. They're done. Yeah. And all these men that like dads that send me messages about wanting to blow the other team. It's fucking weird. Stop it. A guy that has 4 daughters sent me that. I have his Instagram. I'm not going to put him on blast, but like, it's weird. It's uncomfortable. I don't want my kids to be friends with your kids, because you're a weirdo, dude. Stop with the messages and go inside and apologize to your wife for being such a loser. Seriously. Listen, they win tonight and it's a different series. I don't know if Braden Point's going to play. I think he's hurt. He's been invisible in game 1 and 2. We streamed on Patreon for game 2 last night. We're doing every other game. So we're not doing game 3. We're doing game 4. We're doing game 6, and then we'll do game 7. He's hurt. Okay. And you can tell. But again, if Nick Paul's invisible, we're in tough. Vasilevsky let in 7 goals. And all this stuff online, people trying to figure out, I can't believe John Cooper didn't pull Andrei Vasilevsky. Let me tell you something. In my opinion, I think that there's an unwritten rule between Coop and Vasi that Vasi pulls himself. I don't think John Cooper will pull Vasi. I think they've sat down and had a conversation, and Vasi says, listen, you know me. We've won 2 Stanley Cups together. I'll pull myself when I need to pull myself. Other than that, I'm your goalie. And I think that's what makes John Cooper so unique and so fucking awesome, is that he respects that and he sits back and goes, I don't know better than you in this situation. If we've lost the game, if he wants to keep playing, he wants to keep playing. Now, Dominic Hasek, a completely different story. I think Dominic Hasek, similar but different. I don't think Scotty Bowman had to ever consider pulling Dominic Hasek. I think Dominic Hasek pulled himself, much like in practice. In practice, if guys were scoring on Hasek, if he came out and he was having a bad practice, he'd take his stick, he'd launch it into the stands, and he'd skate off the ice, and they'd bring out the shooter tutor. It was a mentality with him. He didn't want anyone to get hot. If he had a bad day, he didn't want that to carry over into the next day, so he would cut the cord immediately. Probably forget about it immediately. He wanted that out of his system, away from him as quick as possible, versus a guy like Vasilevsky who says, fuck this, I'm playing through this. I'm going to play through this, all right? Or I'm going to take the pain so that I come back in game 3 and I'm lights out. And if this guy's motivated, lights out means lights out. All right. I want to talk about this defenseman.
Josh Manson.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about Josh Manson.
So Josh Manson's spent his whole career in Anaheim, 8 seasons. At the trade deadline this year, he gets moved to Colorado. Former 6th-round pick. Like you said, he's got one of those guys that just sort of slipped through.
From where?
Originally from Illinois.
He's American.
He's American. Hinsdale, Illinois.
Where did he play junior or college?
He played at Northeastern University.
Wow.
And he was drafted by Anaheim, 6th-round pick, number 160 overall in the 2011 NHL entry draft.
Okay, and what was his statistics last year?
His stats last year, he had played 45 games. So
he was hurt?
No, I think that was the COVID Cup, right? It was the shortened season last year.
That was 2 years ago.
The bubble?
That was 2 years ago.
So he played, So he played 45 games last year.
What about the previous year?
Only 23.
That was the shortened year.
Okay,
yeah. So the 45 games, what was his stats?
4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, 53 penalty minutes.
Plus?
0.
He was an even. Okay, on a bad team. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what's his first name?
Josh Manson.
Josh Manson.
His playoff statistics this year are 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points, plus 4, 10 penalty minutes in 16 games.
Yeah, so you understand the difference between, like, Joe Sakic and his staff, they targeted Manson at the deadline. They went out, they made a move, and they got him. To me, it looks like one of the best deadline acquisitions in the entire NHL this year. Okay, this guy scored a goal the other night. It was Adam Foote 20 years ago. This guy scored a goal that stay-at-home defensemen don't score. I mean, and what that showed to me is, what is this guy's ceiling? Because he has been a fucking great D in the playoffs. He's had a couple of tough games. I remember he took a penalty. I don't know what game that was, against Edmonton, maybe.
Yeah.
But whatever. The guy's I love this player. And why I wanted to bring it up is, how did this guy go unnoticed to everyone with the exception of Joe Sakic, right? I didn't watch Anaheim, so I didn't know him. But clearly, you can tell the difference between high-level general managers, presidents, the Steve Yzermans in the world, okay? The Joe Sakics in the world, who can look and mine talent, who see the players, the guys that are gamers. And this Manson, I love watching him. Like, I cannot wait to watch the game tonight because I want to watch him. I want to really watch him because I haven't. He's just sort of, he really popped into my radar on a positive level in game 2, and it blew my mind. And, that's what you're dealing with. Right? The old boys club. And we saw a very busy week in NHL coaches. Can you give me the rundown?
Yes. So Cassidy ends up signing with Vegas.
So Bruce Cassidy has gone to Vegas.
He was on the market the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
Boston let him go. There's rumors that Trotz is going to look at the Boston job.
Yeah.
It seems like a good fit.
It seems clear that Trotz is the front runner for sort of picking the premier jobs. Like, he's getting the pick of the litter.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's why Dallas and some of these teams just made their picks, because they were like, Trotz isn't coming here.
So who went to Dallas? Oh, Peter DeBoer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not a good hire, probably.
Well, I mean, again, we're just recycling talent. Mark Savard. Some of you know Mark Savard, unbelievable junior hockey player, Oshawa Generals, great NHL player, New York Rangers. Savvy, he got hit, a concussion ended his career. This guy, high-level hockey IQ. So he coaches this year for the first year. Can you look up the team stats for, I believe, the Windsor Spitfires,
Sure.
or whatever team? They had an unbelievable season. I'm saying this because the old boys club, it's a real thing. If you own a team that's worth $500 million, right? Philadelphia Flyers, okay? And you have the ability to pick a new coach. You pick anyone you want. You got the money. You're going to pay them. Anybody you want. These fucking teams that go back to the well, to go and hire a guy like John Tortorella, you couldn't find a coach who is so archaic when it comes to the modern day NHL player. How many times have we seen the same thing play out? Okay, he's going to get in there. Kevin Hayes at training camp, he's going to talk all positive, like, I can't wait to play for Torts. He's going to make me a better player. 200 feet. I'm going to be a better player because of Torts. John Tortorella and Hayes are going to hate each other by Christmas, okay? Hate each other. Problem is, Hayes has got 7 years left on his deal at a big fucking nut, right? This is what they do because a guy like Tortorella goes in and he's got the pitch down to a T. He goes into a team. It's like a guy that only dates girls that just recently broke up with their boyfriend. He's a rebound specialist. Goes in, goes, your team has lost its way. They're out, lost at sea. They don't have any paddles, no engine. That's it. This is when I come in and I give you back your identity. The Broad Street Bullies. Now, again, coming from a guy that can't skate and handle a puck at the same time. That's the level of his. He couldn't play on your men's league team. You guys out there, girls out there, he couldn't make your team, okay? But let's go and hire this guy, this fucking dinosaur, because we're suckers. Instead of, I don't even know if they interviewed Mark Savard. What?
So Mark Savard is coaching the Spitfires this season, 68 games. They had 44 wins, 17 losses, 4 overtime losses, 3 shootout losses.
What was their winning record the year before?
Let me look that
44 and 17.
Yeah, so 69%, almost 70% clip. Led the Western Conference.
Okay. Windsor Spitfires. So who knows if they even interviewed Savard? Okay. I don't know if Steve Yzerman's going to interview Savard. Maybe Stevie thinks Savvy, like, not for my team, right? Maybe Yzerman's thinking the Barry Trotz. Like, I want, and by the way, what happened to Mike Babcock? Like, if you wanted somebody to re-identify your team, I would, as much as, and I played for Babcock, and honestly, I can probably say one of the reasons that I made the NHL was because of Mike Babcock. But how the fuck do you hire John Tortorella before Mike Babcock? Or Peter DeBeer, okay? Cassidy, I think Cassidy is a good coach. I think he played on, coached a team that, was a great team, had DNA, they knew how to win. I don't think Bruce Cassidy was the secret sauce in Boston.
I think that they moved on from him because of all of the coaches available this offseason, that they were like, well, if we're going to do it, now's the time.
Right, and they haven't hired anyone yet, right?
They have not, which right. I guess the only thing that Trotz we're hearing outside of Boston right now anyways, is that he might want to go home to Winnipeg.
What was the Spitfires record previous to this?
They finished 5th in the Western last year with 61% winning percentage, 34-20, 8-0.
34-20?
Yep, and 8.
And 8. Wow.
So a difference of 10 percentage points.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge swing.
Yeah, middle of the table or top of the league.
Right. So a guy like Mark Savard, and I don't know, maybe Savvy's saying to himself, I'm not ready. If there was one job, I would literally I would fucking, that would be fun to go and be Mark Savard's assistant coach in Windsor. I believe former NHL players own the team. Yeah. Chris Draper, somebody owns the team, not Drapes, but somebody I know owns the team. Savard is a fucking hockey savant, a power play specialist, guru. It'll be interesting to see if anybody even gives him a. But again, it comes to are there other Mark Savards in the American Hockey League? You're telling me there's no great young coaches in the American Hockey League? These guys are dinosaurs. They are fucking dinosaurs, and they make the wrong decisions continually. But because they're in the club, they keep getting chances, and that's how this whole system works.
The owners of the Spitfires are John Savage, Steven Savage, Brian Schwab, and Bob Bugner.
Oh, yeah, Bobby Bugner. Great NHL player.
General managers, Bill Bowler, coach Mark
Bill Bowler, one of the greatest fucking OHL players ever and American Hockey League players. Bill Bowler. I played against Bowler. Great player. Little guy in a big man's game way back when. Zach Bogosian, one little thing on Zach Bogosian. Congrats and a mazel tov to Zach Bogosian. He, the birth of his child in round 2, okay? It was game 1 in round 2 that his wife went into labor. 16 days his child was in the NICU, which is Nash was in the NICU. It's like intensive care for babies. 16 days from game 1 in round 2. For 16 days, Bogosian was sleeping at the NICU. That's a fucking warrior for you. And somebody else said something stupid on Instagram about Tampa Bay's COVID cups, they called them. Again, I'll come back to the bubble. The bubble was the hardest Stanley Cup to ever win in the history of the NHL. And I'll tell you why. Being a new dad, okay? Those guys went away for 2.5 months. Some of them, none of them saw their kids for 2.5 months. Some of them had kids that were just born, newborns, 2 weeks old. They didn't see their kids for 2.5 months. That is single-handedly why that Stanley Cup on its own was the most difficult in Stanley Cup history, okay? So when you people send me messages, you guys are inferior fucking idiots. You don't know anything about the game. And you sit at home and you think you're couch warriors anonymous on social media. You guys are brain dead. Stop wasting my time and embarrassing yourselves. And again, go inside and apologize to your wife. What else you got hockey-wise?
Well, it looks like, depending on how this series ends, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have a very good chance of finishing 1-2 in the points, even after being eliminated in the Western Conference Finals.
So is there an argument for a Connor McDavid winning the Hart Trophy, even though he's not winning the Stanley Cup or even in the finals?
And if Cale Makar wasn't doing what he was doing, and your guy, Nichushkin,
or Kucherov, listen, Tampa Bay's still in it, okay? Yeah, it's an interesting argument. They have a 10-point lead on second place, which is just fucking mind-blowing. That two guys that aren't even in the playoffs anymore are still leading the NHL scoring race by 10 points. I don't know when the last time that happened. It's probably in the Gretzky days. There's no argument, okay? Now, listen, if they had 40, I mean, I don't know if there's any amount of points that would justify it. You can't. You win the Conn Smythe if by the least you're in the finals. But you win the Conn Smythe if you win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many hidden intangibles that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And they award the trophy on the ice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it would be strange.
It would.
But, there's no question that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl had amazing playoff run.
Okay. Like, what else you got? I get it. We get it, Michael.
Okay.
What else?
We were going to talk about the coaching, and I think that there's a chance that, we see some more movement here this week. It'd be interesting to see who Yzerman pegs.
What about the whole Colorado TV deal? Did you get into it?
Yeah, I did. So the players or the fans in Colorado are able to watch the games right now because the playoffs.
Because it's on ABC and ESPN?
Right. But during the regular season, there's a lot of blackout issues with the Colorado fans. And there's something that needs to be figured out with the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche, what Comcast and Altitude cable providers. It's absolutely shameful, and I feel for the Avalanche fans
but they
having such a great season and not being able to partake with the whole thing.
But they are able to watch the playoffs. They need to have an additional. You have to be subscribed to ESPN. Right?
Yeah. Now it's they're good to go. But during the regular season, there's a lot of blackouts, and so
who might win the Conn Smythe? Emily Kaplan. She's really done an incredible job.
She's made a name for herself.
There's a mad scientist behind her whole.
I think you're right.
Her whole insanity.
She asked Cale Makar if he was going to go out and celebrate after the game.
Really?
That was her takeaway question.
How did I not see that?
It was at the end of a 7-0 game, so none of us were watching.
At game 2, she asked Cale
if he was going
to go celebrate.
Yeah.
You stop.
I'm serious.
Can you play the clip?
Yeah.
We celebrate it all tonight?
No.
Thanks, Cale.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, well, episode 13, No Gruffs Given, spreads.ca. We'll see you next week.